when you can't smile anymore, I'll smile for you. I'll be the raindrops when you cry. I'll be the sun when you can't shine.
It's lovely that we have galvanized physically together to acknowledge the importance of our thinking and our processes. For those of us in Washington, D.C., it's pretty much of a high energy space, and us meditators and folks that are in yoga or evolutionary thinking, we find it a wonderful opportunity to be in the nation's capital so that a difference can happen, so something positive can come out of all of this. And many of us feel a little bit powerless at times, where we feel like we don't know how to impact change. And instead, we just don't do anything, or we tweet a message out, and we consider that as our contribution to humanity. And I know that social media, comments that we make on social media do help, but yet I think there's one very, very important fundamental power that we have not really spent a lot of time on, and that's the power of thought. A friend of mine, Lynn McTaggart, when we did an experiment here about, was it 2 months ago? 2 months ago for the Middle East. The next day, there was a shift in which there was a new opening for Yemen, folks in Yemen that had took place in the particular area that we focused on. Mark you, there were many of the Middle Eastern countries involved with the experiment, and we're going to be experimenting from here. So I'm really happy that we have Deborah Green from Live a Moment app. If you haven't downloaded that app yet, please do. And we also have our wonderful friend, Dr. Habib Sadeghi, his movement, the Love Button movement, the global Love Button movement, which I love a lot because love is a big part of my life. And what we're going to do today is something very simple. We are actually just going to allow this very simple guided video meditation to take us into this collective resonance of thought, and the thought that emerged from a group who just emerged out of meditation and everyone was in unison was a very, very beautiful thought. It was open your heart to peace. And the reason why it came up was because we didn't want there to be any charged feelings, no judgment, no criticism. This is basically an invitation that was just asking everyone in Congress and at the White House, we're inviting you please to open your heart to peace. When you make your decisions, when you walk, when you move around in the halls, everybody is supporting you. And we're hoping that the fear will come out of the thinking. And so they say when 3 or more well-intended people come together for something good, something powerful will happen. And so I believe in that wholeheartedly. So now we will begin the meditation, and after that we'll do a little bit of a feedback. For those of you on Facebook Live, please share it with your friends, and so that they can join in the collective thought of resonance of meditation. And feel free to share whatever comments or feelings that you might be having regarding the conversation or the vibration of this very, very simple exercise. Now I do want to emphasize, if the thoughts are coming from a pure place, you better believe it's going to impact something. If not you, which you'll be the first one, it'll be your environment, and then perhaps where we're specifically directing our thoughts. So it's our invitation to you on behalf of all of us here. And we look forward to you joining us, and we'll talk a little bit in the next 30 minutes. Take care. we the people of the world, in order to create a more perfect self and world, we are born to create a good life, one of wealth, happy relationships, and a healthy mind. I, the soul, am a citizen of the world. I promise to promote inner well-being and to secure a life of blessings, freedom, unity, and respect. So as I sit here in a state of true inner freedom, I allow the experience of the real me, the true beauty of the soul to emerge. And I acknowledge the true worth and the true beauty in everyone who shares our world. I choose to share good wishes and pure feelings with everyone I meet, because I, the soul, am a well-wisher, and I am true in sharing good wishes when I walk and move around during the day. So let me sit in the consciousness of remembering that we, the people, are all citizens of good wishes, emanating pure feelings, peace, purity, and inner freedom. Shanti. So as we hold the space for those 30 minutes, one of the interesting things about the energy of peace is that I have to have it in me in order to be able to spread it as well. And when we do these kinds of practices, we realize that when we ask others for peace, we too have to be at peace. And so we understand what they must be going through as well. And so what this time together is about is to not only check my own personal capacity of peace and resilience, but in addition to extend that towards others, especially those in positions of responsibility. So we want to thank you for this time, this moment, this introspection, and this intent that not only do we show up with that kind of a quality and virtuosity, but that perhaps it really becomes an inspiration for the lives of others. And you and I never know what our thoughts are doing, but they definitely do impact the environment, and they do influence minds, however slow or fast. So for those of you tuning in, please feel free to watch the video and take your time. We started this yesterday morning at 4 o'clock. We had this video up, and the group of us was just sending out pure wishes and pure feelings, to all the souls that are, working in those halls, and trying to make choices that are the best choices in those halls. And so we really took that time in the early morning to make that happen. So this is for us an ongoing experience, just because I think many of us sitting here really care a lot about what's going on, and many of us are very active at a global level of responsibility in the world. So when we show up with these practices, it's meaningful for us because we're very active, but we're also very introspective. And one of the most important aspects is that our own intention is there. I'm doing this not for anything other than please be at peace. Be at peace with one another, because I want my peace, you want your peace. So would anyone like to share anything before we close out? We have about 10 more minutes.
I just want to thank you, Sister Janet, for giving us this opportunity to come here today, because I felt this was so critical, so important, as we see our world, the world situation that's impacted by our own American situation. But I love the one slide you had where there was a white, looked like a white light over Congress. And I felt our collective, I felt all of us were there and were part of that light over Congress. I really felt that.
Yes.
I really did. And
No, we believe you, because
and,
we did too.
and, you could either be upside down or right side up. And many of the slides showed that. I thought it was brilliant. And I know that today our impact definitely had, we had impact on what I'm sure is happening today in Congress.
We definitely observe.
And I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Well, thank you. You drove from so far to be here today. It means a lot. And for someone who's been in the government for so many years, I know how much it has impacted you, the course in which you've been observing us going. And so you showing up for this means a lot to us as well. Anyone has any thoughts to share? Any feelings?
It's so easy during these times to be angry about what's happening and to hurt with people who we feel are being hurt. But that anger and hurt doesn't actually solve anything. And so I think, finding a space for peace and wishing peace for those in a position to make decisions around what happens in this country, around government policies, that in many ways it's both healing to focus on peace for us, but also healing for them. So I appreciate this opportunity.
Deborah, you're good? You're good. Anyone else? James? Everyone's good? Yeah, I think as well, it's like what we shared earlier. To what extent is my capacity of peaceful? You know, to what extent is my capacity of peaceful? And I think about individuals in very peaceless environments every day. How do they cope? And so if we don't support them, because sometimes when you're in something very strongly and you're attached to it, you don't always see clearly. You need someone from the outside to help guide you. And I think what our meditation for Congress is doing, it's our energy and our thoughts from the outside entering into their world and guiding them and helping them to just pull back a little bit. You're too close to the story. Emotions are so charged, and you and I both know as leaders, we don't make decisions when we're emotional. It never turns out well. And so may I request everyone who's been tuning in, and all those who have gotten the emails, every hour on the hour, just 30 seconds, the practice of open your heart, and just send these rays of peace, because I know at a democratic level and a bureaucratic level, we all think everything will be okay, and it will be. Everything is beneficial. Yet at the same token, do I have the strength to endure the changes that we will witness before everything gets okay? And so why we think it's important that you commit every hour on the hour to 30 seconds of this sort of collective resonance of energy is that we deeply feel it will impact something, somehow, some way. If not ourselves, it'll definitely impact the environment. So let's practice this and hold it as much as possible. And I think we have an event coming up. What's the date? January 30th here at the Meditation Museum. The global love button for that night to not only sit in a deeper resonance, because this just happened in 1 day, 2 days, we organized this with a snowstorm. So I just think that we're amazing. I love us. And if on January 30th you plan to be here at Swearing, but as well as the Live a Moment app, in which we'll invite you to check I feel, you feel, I breathe, you breathe. So let's see how we can work together. And I think if we value the power of thoughts more, we won't have to go through a lot of this. And the more we can contribute our thinking, the easier it'll get. It turns out that I think it was about 3 or 4 days ago, Conscious Good Media, if you get a chance to go to their network, Conscious Good Media released the Soul Talk television series I did with a few members of Congress. And you listen to Tim Ryan, Congressman Tim Ryan, talking about the benefits of meditation, and Congressman Emmanuel Cleaver III will talk about how he came from very, very poor and modest beginnings, and how he had to overcome his own limitations and what he's enjoyed in the country. And also Congressman Rangel, he's a fire, and just what he feels is the direction of Congress, even though he is retired last year. His voice in the conversation was very pertinent. And also Congressman Cardenas from California in San Bernardino. One of the things that came out of the conversations is that I asked them questions like, what's your interpretation of God? What is consciousness to you? Do you believe in the soul? And what's your vision of America? So if you're curious to hear what their responses were, I'd recommend that you go to Conscious Good Media and tune that in, or go onto our Facebook account. You'll be able to be directed to watch the series, and make comments if you'd like on Conscious Good Media Network, which we would greatly appreciate. So without any further ado, I'd like to see if we can play one beautiful, nice song for just our moment of reflection, and Maybe the last 5 minutes, we would like to send our loving, peaceful vibrations to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and send the soul that is in a position of authority there lots of peace and love and light and clarity and humility and kindness. And I think that the more we send who we call number 45, or who seems to be playing the role of a president of the United States of America in these times, I think on behalf of all of us here, we send you our love, our kindness, our pure feelings, our good wishes, our sincerity, that you experience calm, peace, truth, love, and God's love for sure, but lightness. Om Shanti.